Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We got a special guest in the building, Uncle Ralph McDaniels.
Yes,
indeed.
Good
yes,
morning.
sir. Hey, good to be here, Breakfast Club. I'm honored right now.
No,
We honored to have you here, man.
Congratulations
Thank you so much.
for the documentary on Video Music Box.
Yes.
I watched it yesterday. I was hungover, so I was laying on the couch and I just turned it on.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
No,
thoroughly
great.
enjoyed it.
It was
Man.
Such a staple.
It was really great, man.
Here in the tri-state area. I remember it was Video Music Box and it was New York Hot Tracks.
Yes. Yeah, you're showing your age now with New York Hot
That's
Tracks.
right. I didn't have cable.
Right,
and
right.
so if I wanted to see videos, the only place back then you really could see it if you caught one of those shows.
Yeah.
Channel 31.
Yes, Channel 31. And, look, this has been something that we've been wanting to do. I've been working on this project for 10 years. So we went through a bunch of hoops to get to Showtime and Mass Appeal. And then Nas came in and said, I want to get this right. And I almost cried when he said that because I was like, what are you talking about, bro?
How do you go through all that footage?
Yeah.
Like, because you have a lot of footage. Now, if you don't know, Video Music Box is a video show that started off playing hip-hop videos when nobody else would.
Right.
It wasn't on cable, so it was Channel 31, one of the high channels, and after school, we'd all run home to go watch it.
Yes.
But you have footage of years, man. How did you go through the footage to decide what you're going to put in this documentary? Because the documentary was, what, 90 minutes?
90 minutes. Yeah, it could have went to me for 3 hours, and it would have been interesting. But Showtime was like, easy, take it easy, pal. But we filled up that 90 minutes with so much stuff, and so many interviews were left on the editing floor. It was difficult to really shave it all down to 90 minutes. But you got the 80s and the 90s. I said the 90s are super important. Let's make sure that we got the 90s. And make sure we got more of that than the 80s because there's a lot more people around from the 90s. So let's touch on that. And I like the 90s era myself from a hip-hop perspective.
Such a full circle moment for you you did Nas's first video.
Yes.
And then for him to be executive producing this with Mass Appeal, man, how did that feel?
Nas came in and I looked at him and I said, this is something that I think you're going to enjoy. And originally he was the executive producer. He wasn't the director. Mm-hmm. And then he somewhere in the middle said, no, I'm going to direct this. And I want to get this right, Ralph. And I just was, it was, like I did It Ain't Hard to Tell, the first single off of Illmatic.
Right.
I directed that. And this thing called the EPK, which was really the thing that really broke Nas in New York because it was like an interview with all the producers and all the people that were involved. I went to his house, I hung out in Queensbridge. It was just like a little short documentary that I did for Nas. So now he's doing, my thing, and I'm like bugging. I'm like,
wow,
like this is the God.
Yeah. It's just one of those things. It's like, you never know who's gonna be who. That's why you should show everybody love.
Key. We see people all the time that come up, and I always show people respect because I don't know. First of all, because I'm from the street, and I understand respect the street.
Absolutely.
Because we got to go out there in these blocks all the time. And I'm like, no, we don't want no problems out here. So I never know who's who. And let's continue to respect it. And I think that people say, man, you be out here, you on the Ave and you in this place. And I'm like, you don't got no bodyguards. They be looking around like, where do I? I'm like, no, I'm good. What's up?
I was going to ask that. You ever got into any problems? Because like with Fat Joe said on the documentary,
yeah.
I'm on my block and they saying Video Music Box got a party down the block and you were in the Bronx, you were in Brooklyn, you went to L.A., you went to the hood, you were on Jamaica Avenue, you were in the hoods. Did you ever have a problem at all?
We probably did, but my man Beast.
Yeah, you highlighted them in the doc.
Yeah.
You gave them their love, yeah.
Yeah, but Beast was not like my security. He was my friend. Like we weren't like, people, he did security for all these other people like that, he became known for, Wyclef and everything. And he's in the Shotters movie, and everybody knows him for Shotters because he blows up the whole place. He's acting.
Right.
But Beast was official. He's official cat, and so we kept guys like that. They just hung around. I tell people this, not Beast, but a lot of the other guys that work with us all had come home from jail. They needed an opportunity. And I said, I'm going to give you all the opportunity to work with me, but y'all can't screw it up, And most of those guys took it and ran with it and did the right thing.
Now, Video Music Box was really just in the tri-state area, but people knew about it from all over. Why do you think it never ended up going national?
Well, in the doc, I say that I went to MTV, and there was this concert called the Fresh Fest. And I went there, and I was like, I saw a mixture of everybody. So white people, black people, Asian people. I said, oh, this is happening right now. And I went to MTV, And they were like, no, Middle America's not ready for this, Ralph. You know, it's not happening right now. And I'm like, there's a tour. It's going out. I got the videotapes. Take a look at it. And they were like, no, you need to pull out the tapes. It's okay. We already know what we're going to do. And then 2 years later, they did MTV Raps. And, and people thought, you got to be tight right now. And I wasn't tight then. I was more tight the first time because I knew that it was happening already and they could have had to jump on it. So my whole career, I've been a little bit early. Mm-hmm. You know how that is. Sometimes you're a little bit early. So you don't really take it and go like, oh, man, y'all trying to jerk me. I didn't take it like that. I just said we was early. And that was it, And then what happens after that, and people do what they do when MTV comes out. I mean, Yo MTV Raps comes out and Rap City and whatever else was out there, it all kind of feels like Video Music Box to people. But, whatever it was going to be was what it's going to be.
Was there ever any networks that came to you and wanted to do it?
Once. Remember there was this show called, oh, man, my girl D. Barnes, Pump It Up.
Pump It Up. Oh, yeah, I remember Pump It Up. Hell yeah.
So they asked me to do that. But they wanted me to stop doing Video Music Box. And I could tell that at the time, Fox was not really serious about this hip-hop thing. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm not going to stop what I'm doing and commit to y'all. And then, 6 months later, you'll go, nah, it's not working. And then I'm stuck. So I said, I said, I'm going to continue to do my little local show. Why? What's the problem? This is a national program y'all want me to do. And they were like, no, you can't do that. And I felt like, I can't do that. And D. Barnes did it. And so that's what happened.
How did you get paid original from Video Music Box? Because there was no commercials. But you would travel. You go from borough to borough. You went city to city, club to club. So you had expenses. So how did you get paid? How was you making money?
That's when we started giving parties, and Fat Joe says, yo, that's what DJs do. We don't get paid a lot of money and we do whatever we do to have events and do things, and that's what we did. We would sit in the club and watch a promoter that giving us like $300 to show up and he walking away with, $25,000, $30,000 in his pocket in a club, right. And I was like, that don't make sense because everybody came here for us. So we gonna start doing that. And that's what we did. Me, my man Sam, Crazy Sam, all these dudes were like, we was doing 3 or 4 parties in the night, and walking away with the money and going, okay, we good.
Yeah, you explained in the doc that you never actually made money off the show.
Nah. No, because it was on a PBS channel. Mm-hmm. And so it was non-commercial, which was great, really, because it gave us the opportunity to educate where, you can't really do that in commercial world. Like, I have no time for that. We got to run commercials, bro. We ain't trying to help the community. Mm-hmm. We wanted to do a lot of that, and we did do that in the show. So it was a balance of both. And that's how we got through, being on that station.
What about getting paid for directing and producing videos?
That we did, yeah. But even that was, that was early,
Right. I remember you did Wu-Tang videos.
Yeah, Wu-Tang, I don't know, we might have done that at the time. Comparison to what the rock and roll videos and the pop videos was, it was nothing. Because hip-hop wasn't getting videos like that in the beginning. It was like, you got to sell, a 500,000 and then you get a video. Now kids can just do 10 videos on a night, and boom, it's on YouTube. But it wasn't like that, back in the days. So, we were blessed to be able to work with Wu-Tang, blessed to be able to work with Nas, with Jay, all these different people, Black Moon, all this early kind of developing sound, and then we got Hype. Then we brought Hype on because Hype was my assistant, and then Hype was the one.
Hype Williams.
Yeah, Hype Williams. He was the one who got the benefit of what we did.
Got you.
Wow.
Yeah. I was going to ask, with all these artists, because you only had a small period of time, right? Video Music Box was on. Was it I call it the Mano effect, where artists are coming like, DJ, you gonna play my record, Ralph, you gonna play my video. Did you have a lot of those altercations and problems with artists, executives, label owners? All the time.
People trying to lean on you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah. You like, yo, can I talk to you for a second? No, fam, you can't talk to me right now. And so that was always happening. But we have one thing about me, because I had good relationships in the community and in the street, and if you see in the doc, my friends are like heavy duty street cats.
Correct.
At the time. Now we don't deal with each other on that level, but I know they grew up on my block. What am I supposed to do? I'm not fronting on the cats from my block. Mm-hmm. But so all of these relationships kind of was like, nah, leave Ralph alone. And and I was a square. I was not no street dude. I'm just a music guy. I love music. I'm the dude who brings the equipment out in the park. You know, I'm the dude who's like, okay, we're going to organize. All right, Ralph, whatever. And, you know, I was that dude, but it was respected in that way.
It's nuts that labels were trying to charge you to play their videos, too.
That was crazy.
And I'm glad that changed, but
yeah,
what was the shift?
The artists were not getting what they were supposed to get. You know, you were spending all this money for promotion to get on MTV or to get on whatever station that didn't want you there anyway. And the artists were like, why are we spending our budget? And we could just go to Ralph and get the same impact right now. Because New York was like a trickle effect. You know, it happened here, then it started happening in the rest of the country. Then artists like NWA and Luke and other artists started coming here because they knew that there's this dude Ralph, and he could play it, and then the other big networks will see it because it's there in New York. And so that was the trickle effect. So I was like kind of like the B League. And then you would go, okay, Ralph was rocking it, let's try it out.
There really hasn't been anything like it since then either, because you were in the clubs with these artists, you were in the studio, you were going places to where they were, meeting other people that were involved in their life. And I feel like you don't see that. Like, you don't see people filming in the club at an album release party, doing interviews in the club in the midst of the party. You know, and that's a good time to catch somebody when they're actually celebrating and having fun.
Yeah, you know, we want to do that now. That's one of the ideas that we have to come out now with, is to bring that energy back to the clubs, bring that energy back to the colleges, you know, because I learned when I started traveling so much around the world, about the world, when I left New York. And sometimes people don't leave their block, you know, or wherever you at, whatever city you're in, you don't leave, you have to go out. Just if you just went to another state, you know, just you learn so much. When I went to LA and I saw, you know, Samoans, I was like, whoa, what are these dudes? Who are these cats? You know, and they were from Hawaii and they were some big dudes, you know. And I was like, wow. And then I saw, you know, it was different. You got to travel.
It's funny, when Revolt first started, that's what I told Pup. I said, you should take it back to the events that mean something to us. Homecomings, big concerts, birthday weekends, holiday weekends, where people that can't go out but can still feel that. That was the best thing about Video Music Boxes. I was too young at the time to go to the club. Right. So I'm watching the club on TV. And then when I get to that age, I'm able to go to the club, and it was nothing better than the club being packed, and then that big-ass camera light come on. That camera light come on. Now people try to dodge it, but back then that camera light come on, everybody comes, and they want to talk on the mic, and that's where the shout-out started.
That's where the shout-out started.
Now break that down, how you started the shout-outs, where everybody does now. Calls every station, everywhere, you get a shout-out.
I should have, if I could get a penny for every time somebody says the word shout-out. But that's what we started. You know, I remember Chris Rock told me, he said, I can't believe that you're the guy who started shout-out. He said, but I watched it in my house, and I was like, I want to do a shout-out, you know. Yeah. And so now everybody says it. I watch TV or I watch movies or anything, and I hear that word, and I'm like, that's hip-hop. That's hip-hop all day. Like, it doesn't seem like it, but it is. That word, shout-out, and we did that every day on my show, and people all of a sudden started saying it like it was regular language, like, yo, what up? It became that. You know, there's so much that hip-hop is given to the world that doesn't get the credit for it, but that's one of them. I wish I just, like I said, got $1.
When the New York hip-hop music scene started to decline, did that impact Video Music Box?
Absolutely. It impacted me when it became popular, too. Because now I wasn't in the mix of all of the money, because I was more underground. And when it started to go like, oh, we just doing MTV, or we're just doing VH1, or we're just doing these big corporate, you know, entities, then I was kind of left out of the picture. And they started to bring in, you know, PR firms that weren't from our community, that, you know, just like, we don't know nothing about Video Music Box, and why are we even messing with this guy? Like, he doesn't have the reach that these other places have. And the artists, I think, in some cases didn't even know, you know, like they were just getting the money, you know, which they should have, because it was there. And, you know, and I felt like, how come I didn't get invited to that party? You know, how come I didn't know about that? And so I could, you know, it was like a space where we couldn't get in. And we, you know, black media, journalists, and we were the guys like that started the whole thing, you know, that got the hip hop going with, you know, even magazines, you know, where you saw the magazines in the newsstand. Now magazines don't exist anymore, but there were a lot of photographers, journalists, publishers like Right On magazine back in the days. They were the only ones putting hip hop artists in there. But now they couldn't get into the party. We would go to the door and they'd be like, "No, we don't know who you are." Video Music Box, don't know who you are. So that was the time that I felt like I didn't really like hip hop.
What about reaching out to artists directly for you? Did that work? Because obviously you had some relationships with people that kind of came up. I saw in the documentary, Mos Def was so excited. He's like, "I made it. I'm on Video Music Box."
Yes.
And you did have a lot of exclusives. If you reach out directly, were they responsive?
Yeah. We were like DMC said. I wasn't like on top of artists like that. I would be like hanging out and like, "Yo, let's just do something," and then be like, "All right, Ralph, turn the camera." So it wasn't like hard to get an artist to do it if we were in the same space. But once we got to like the mid '90s, I still the Bad Boy era. It wasn't. We wasn't there.
That's what I don't understand. Like, I would think that guys like Puff with the Bad Boy era, even Jay with Rockefeller, they knew you. They were excited to do Video Music Box. Like, they should have been calling you to be there.
I don't think it was them. I think it was the people that were surrounding them. Because now everybody's making money off of this. And so, Charlamagne, you're very important. And there's a bunch of people that may be around you. I don't know. I don't hang with you like that. But that are making money for no apparent reason.
That is true. Yeah.
But, those people are the ones that keep you out, keep you back. Like, fall back. And you like, "Nah, that's my man. I know him." And you see me, "Yo, Ralph, what up?" But those people, for real.
Got you.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask when it came to what you did. Do you ever think about doing radio back then?
I was on radio. Yeah, I was on Hot.
But
I hated radio.
Because you hated it.
I hated.
Why?
You used to do Tuesday nights, 12 to 2.
Yeah, I used to do Tuesdays and Saturdays. I like Saturday afternoons. Yeah. Oh, the reason why is because by that time that we're talking about too, is that's when this playlist got smaller, and I felt like, we got to play the same song. Like, I didn't understand, and I was like, why are we only playing these songs, these 20 songs? I didn't understand.
Still like that now, by the way. But
I know. It was explained to me, and I got it. People want to hear hit records when they turn on the radio. But I was like, there's a couple more that we could slide in here, right? And they were like, "No, that's it. Stick to this. Don't talk too much. It's music." And I come from a time when legends talked. And I used to be like, "Okay, we could do this, we could do that." Like, if you got something to say and it's making sense, why not say it? They were like, "Nah, not happening, bro."
You were right, Ralph. They were wrong.
Oh, okay.
That's why radio is behind right now. That's why podcasts lead in personalities. That's why streaming services lead in music. You were absolutely right.
Wow.
I was going to ask, is there an interview you ever refused? Like, we always hear the Angie Martinez, Tupac interview that we don't hear, or there's been a couple interviews here that we never put out. Is there ever an interview that you refuse to put out?
Well, I'll tell you the funny story that it's not in the doc, but Jay-Z talked about it. And there was, Jay-Z had done this thing at Summer Jam when he brought Michael Jackson out.
Remember?
And so I said, "Yo, I got an interview." I'm right there. I'm coming off the stage with him. I'm like, "Yo." He's like, "All right." And then we get in the dressing room and everybody's in there, and he's like, "I'm not going to talk. Let everybody else talk."
I remember.
And I'm like, "What are you talking about, bro?" And he was like, and he's just pointing, and he was doing something. People thought, was he throwing gang signs? And I there's all these rumors about that particular content, and I was so tight with Jay, and I was like, "I can't believe you just did that to me, man." And then the next week, he called me and said, "Yo, I'm coming up to Hot, man. I want to talk now." And I was like, "Right, you ain't talking now." And he came up, and K. Slay was there, and I was like, "K. Slay, you're gonna do the interview?" And he was like, "What do you mean?" I said, "You're gonna do it, but I'm gonna tell you." So I said, "All right, we got Hov here, da da da." K. Slay, go ahead. And I got up and walked out of the room, and Jay was like, "Oh, I got you back." But I'm so connected to that particular moment. All these years later,
but that moment is viral to this day.
Right,
That
actually made it a classic.
It made it a classic. And I told Hov when we did the documentary, I said, "I didn't want to be connected to that." And he was like, "It's funny how things work out, right?" And I said, "Yeah, bro."
That's real.
What about when you're in the club and the cameras are rolling? Let's say something happens in the club that you have it on camera, your crew has it. How do you determine, like, okay, I shouldn't put this out, or I should because this is a huge moment? What was that like for you?
We've had fights at parties. You know, we've showed fights. You know, like something happened in the background. You know, a lot of times, especially in the beginning, these artists now they're polished, or well, I don't know, some are, and they just would say wild things.
Yeah, or be drunk or something,
right?
talking crazy.
And you'd be like, bro, you shooting yourself in the foot right now.
Right.
And I came up in a time where I wouldn't let them kill themselves. You know, I'd be like, let's cut that out. Let's not play that part. But, you know, it's not like that now, and I understand. This is what drives this industry. But, you know, I didn't, a lot of things never made it to air.
You did play Pox Hit 'Em Up.
Yeah, I did play Pox Hit 'Em Up. Yeah.
That was the first time. Probably the only time I seen it.
Yeah.
Did you get a lot of? I know Puff was upset about that.
Yeah. You know,
Brooklyn was upset
Brooklyn
about
was,
that.
and I lived in Brooklyn at the time. But you know, I was a Pac fan, and I'm big and Pac. You know, like I did Juice. You know, I was one of the producers on the film Juice. You know, that's when Pac first came here.
Right.
So you know, I was like, you know, this is what it is. Let's see how this plays out. I think we're gonna be all right. I still know the East Coast is good. We all right. This is let's go. You know, and but you know, it didn't. I think. When I used to play The Bridge Is Over and Queensbridge hated me, you know.
This was a little different though. That
one was a little different,
though.
yeah. But I think that in the battle of what was going on and the way things were, you know, I had Faith Evans on the show saying that, you know, talking about the whole thing with
Faith had two inspired Tupac. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. You know, I got stories like the Aaliyah
joint, in the beginning.
You know, I was working with Aaliyah. We were shooting videos for her. And she was just honest with like, yeah, go ahead, ask me. You know, whatever you want to ask me. And so, you know, so those moments are like, you know, we didn't know what those moments were going to be at that time and what that would mean later on. But, you know, these are things that were, I think from my relationship with people, they felt comfortable to talk and they knew that it was coming from a sincere place. And that was it.
You mentioned the movie Juice. What did you do for Juice, the movie?
I was associate producer. That's the first film I ever worked on. And I'm in it, yeah.
And what did you do for that film?
Rewrote stuff, you know, because it was originally written in the 80s. So it had like, you know, Cool Ski and This One Rock. And I was like, this is 1992. They don't say that no more.
Right.
So we had to take all of that kind of stuff out. And Ernest Dickerson, that was his first film that he directed. Prior to that, he was shooting films for Spike Lee. And that was his first shot. So I was like, yeah, all right, I got you. Plus, you know, nobody trusted Hollywood at that time because some of the movies was whack. That was hip-hop movies. So I called Latifah and I called Tretch and a couple other people, and then people, oh, Ralph, you there? I said, yeah, I'm here. Okay, we're going to come through because Ralph is there. And that was off the strength of that.
Wow.
What other movies did you work on? Because I didn't know about you.
Yeah, I did Roxanne with Mimi Valdez 3 years ago, which Roxanne Shante is another artist that I work with. I did her first video, and Mimi saw her on my show the first time when Mimi was a kid and said, look, Ralph, you know her, you know, can you come in and be involved in this? And she put me on as producer. I was in this movie called Who's the Man with Ed and Dre. And that was fun. Rest in peace to Ted Demme, who was the guy. He was like, yo, Ralph, he was the producer of Yo MTV Raps. And then he got that film deal and he was like, yo, man, I need you to be in it. I said, who you want me to be? He's like, you be you, you know. And I was like, that's crazy. So that was an honor to work on that right there.
How else did you navigate the East Coast versus West Coast beef? Did you have like a problem interviewing West Coast artists around that time or what?
Nah, we didn't have a problem with them at all. Like I say in the doc, we opened that up because, like I said, we were traveling. So I was going to L.A. I was going to the Bay Area, and I was meeting these guys. So we were meeting, Cube and Dre, and we had this relationship already going. And I was like, yo, just get me the videos. You know, like Hammer used to come here all the time. First place, Hammer would be like, yo, Ralph, New York hates me, but you showed me love. And I was like, come through. You know, Deion Sanders. You remember when Deion was having?
Yep.
What was it? Not Pumps in the Bum. What was it? Prime. What was the song called?
Right.
It was like it was Hammerish.
Hammerish.
Damn, what was the name of that song?
Something with money, right?
It's all about the must be the money.
Yeah, must be the money.
Must be the money. Must be the money.
Must be the money.
And so we had him come here. We brought him to the club, and he hung out. Prime time. He came in. He was flying, and I was like, so we had that relationship. Luke said that we are the ones that really broke his music here in New York. It was me and, Pioneer Cool DJ Red Alert that was playing these records.
Yep.
And nobody else was like, what is this? What is this? But everybody was like, we like the booty shaking part. And, and that's what people ran with. But Luke said, they wasn't playing my records in Miami on the radio. They wasn't playing no Miami bass. Only time you heard it was in the clubs.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay.
Freaknet, Greek Fest, and all that other stuff.
You got the video of Big and Nas freestyling.
Yeah.
And Jay and Big in the club. All great. But what is your most prized piece of footage?
That's a good question. I think for me, it's probably Big and Jay when they did the my birthday, because that was really kind of like out of the blue, and Jay came and was hosting it, and they were both at the early stages of their career. It was like the beginning of Rockefeller and the beginning of Big, at Bad Boy, and they just, and the place was crowded. This is when people got dressed up and they danced at clubs. Remember that? And it was just one of those nights where you were like, I couldn't call that any better than that. That was a beautiful night. It was like everybody, your peers were there. Just one of those shows that was just, it was perfect.
But you didn't realize that those two individuals would become these mythical, beings that they are now.
Right. You always say, people always ask me, what if Big was alive? What would that be like between him and Jay and Nas? Like, what would that look like right now? And I don't know. Nas, is, like, I'm a fan of, like, poets, and and Nas is that kind of spiritual kind of thing. That's how, when he started doing my thing, I was like, this is a spiritual dude, man. Like, I'm gonna be in a good place. I said, all I was saying to Nas was, we got to have that hip hop soul, bro. Because I watch documentaries, and I'm like, this is mad generic right now. We know this. Everybody, the people know this, all this information. We don't need to go through this. Let's get into different stories. And that's what I wanted to do with this. And he was like, got it. And he just started working and making sure that the direction took the right direction. Because we know, it was the Bronx, and we know there was dances, and we know graffiti. We know that already. There's more stories to us than that,
To me, the soul comes from your footage.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, your footage throughout gives it that warmth that makes it, classic.
Yeah. Nah, and I'm super happy that, that we still have the footage, because
I thought about that too. Whenever you show the room, I always think about, what if he'd have lost all of that the way RZA lost all that music back in the day?
Right, yeah. RZA, lost so many of his masters, but, we've been in the last, one thing about the pandemic is it got me to be around and really work on digitizing all of this content. So I just was like, I got to get this done. And we started a nonprofit, the Video Music Box Collection, and we started raising money for it. And, and people started, giving us a couple of dollars. We still raising money for it. I still need money for it. People give me some money. But that is what helped us get to the point where we have, you can look at this content and be like, wow, that's pretty clear, from 30 years ago. You remember the DVD days and all of that. There's guys out there that can have content. That is super important, man. Restore it. Take care of it. Our history, hip-hop history is important. Black history is important. But, sometimes our stuff just gets pushed to the side. There's been so many masters and visuals that have been lost over the years. And it's like, wait a minute, somebody just threw that away?
Right.
Because they didn't think it was important? Like, well, who did that? Happens all the time.
You think there'll be a part 2, since you said you do have a lot of footage that you weren't even able to use for this one?
Yeah, I told Showtime, like, we could do 2 or 3 more, and some other stories that we got in the books. So that's on the plate for 2022.
I would like to see artists talk about those moments more. Like, I want to just hear Nas go more in depth on the Big thing, because he said something in the doc that I didn't know. He was like, him and Big were supposed to start a crew called the Goodfellas. And then I was like, but then didn't him and Jay, weren't they going to start the commission, Big and Jay? So I'm like, what would that have looked like?
Right.
So I would like to hear the artists see those videos and those moments and how they remember them.
The crazy thing about that moment is that in that night was like Method Man was there.
That was Miss Jones' birthday party, right?
That was Miss Jones'. Well, Miss Jones says that it wasn't a birthday party; it was an album release party. But I'm pretty sure it was a birthday party. I don't know much. But anyway, Common was there. There was so many artists that were just getting ready to come up. And I was like, You know, when I look at the footage and, you know, Nas talks about there was a fight behind him, there was, you know, and we knew it was coming. Like, one of those parties where somebody's going to fight. Somebody's about to fight. And this, you know, it was just too much energy, you know.
You ever see, looking at all the footage, you ever see people in the crowd, you'd be like, look at that artist. Now they're a huge rapper. Or look at this person. You ever see some of those?
Yeah. You know, I had that conversation with J. Cole because he went to St. John's University and was a fan of Video Music Box when he was at St. John. And J. Cole was like, man, you know, I came to your parties. I came to your events. I know who you are, you know, and this was a young guy. And I was like, I knew who his music, I was familiar with him. And I was like, yo, I appreciate you, man. You coming up. Same thing with A$AP Rocky. You know, he's like, yo, man, I got to call my mom. I'm standing next to Ralph McDaniels right now, you know, and A$AP Ferg, I knew his dad, you know. So I see these people in the at their young stage, and now to watch, like I did this interview with Ferg, and I was like, yo, bro, you doing some amazing thing. He's building furniture and cars and all, you know, like that's what we did this for that to happen.
Gotcha.
Shit, I saw JD and some footage with Houdini on the dock.
Yeah. They use that footage all the time too.
Yes.
You get paid every time they use your footage?
Yes.
Cause okay.
Yeah, they
use
license
that
it.
footage all
I
the
know
time.
enough
Yeah.
to know that.
Yeah.
Do the younger journalists and podcasters or anybody coming to you for advice?
Yeah, I've especially in the last year, I've met a lot of the young guys. We just did a little screening. I had
B-Dot,
you know, Queens guy, and I've had him. You know, I do stuff at the Queens Public Library. I still work with them. I do programs there, but I had B-Dot coming there and doing programs there and talking, you know, about you know, publishing stuff and doing that kind of stuff. Angela Yee
I was there. I did that at the Queens Public Library.
Yes, yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yes, it was nice because, you know, those communities sometimes don't get that, you know. It's so they don't even like. I'm like, Angela Yee's gonna come there. Like, yeah, right. She ain't coming here. And
No,
then
it was amazing,
Yeah.
and I appreciate that because a lot of people showed up, and it feels good. You know, I love working in the libraries too, so
Yeah.
it was a nice connection.
yeah, and it's free. The library is free. We don't charge nothing. It's no, you know, you just walk in, you know, and come on in.
How do you want Video Music Box to be remembered?
For me, the whole idea of this, you're watching Video Music Box film, was to not be forgotten because I could easily see how our history is forgotten and the importance of us just giving an artist a little bit of a break, a little bit of 3 minutes of a music video or a shout out is what catapulted all of these artists that we now know and love into stardom and, you know, making a whole bunch of money. And I was like, we can't let that go. You know, my daughter is the producer on it. And I said, Kim, you know, we got to keep this legacy. Everybody, not just me. You know, we just got to keep our legacy. We don't do that. You know, black folks, you know, all these other names are on buildings or whatever. They're important. We need to get our names on buildings. We have so many street names being changed now. That's the process of starting to do that. You know, getting name changes in communities so that we see a name or we see a statue that we can relate to.
That's right.
And that's what this is part of, the same concept of.
And there's certain people, whenever they call, you should always pick up that phone and say, yes, what do you need me for? And you're one of those people, Ralph McDaniels. So
Thank you.
you just want to put that out there too.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you.
Uncle Ralph.
Uncle Ralph, we appreciate you for joining
Make
us.
sure y'all go watch that documentary on Showtime, man.
Definitely.
It's on Showtime on demand right now. You're watching Video Music Box.
It's Uncle Ralph McDaniels. It's the Breakfast Club. Good morning.